Hello, my name is Huey Long, and welcome back to Supreme Ruler Ultimate. For some of my fans out there, I understand it's been a while. Uh, Technically speaking, I did actually record a video last week, but unfortunately, I had forgotten to change the audio source, and as a result, there was the old ringing, whining noise in the background of the video. So I'm not sure exactly how long I got into the game from that second video. Essentially, though, I can tell you right now, we've hit a problem with our Congo game. In the last video, the one that's unpublished, I expanded my supply routes down here in the southern and northern part of the Congo. I also finished um, full utilization of our rubber plants over here. I built some new rubber plants. I built a couple new factories, expanded oil, expanded the coal and mining quite massively. Or at least, did I? Yeah, coal and mining both at the same time. I expanded a lot down south. As a result, though, that has led to our unemployment rate dropping quite low. It's currently at 2.3%. Now, on the surface level, this seems okay. However, this is actually a really bad place to be in. With such a low unemployment rate, that means labor is quite desirable, basic supply and demand. And as a result, the cost of production for basic goods has gone through the roof. Um, so right now, I'm kind of debating whether or not to just completely shut down certain industries, especially the rubber industries or the plantations up near the north, or just honestly wait for the population to go up. You can see here that we're having a bit of a deficit as a result of the expansion of production costs. If you look at our expenses, though, a considerable amount of money we lose is through social services, which, like I said previously in the very first video, I don't want to mess around with because I'm not trying to replicate some like great leap forward in China and lose millions of people. Like if I had over 100 million plus people here in the Congo, maybe I might consider it. But we're working with a relatively small population compared to the countries we're hoping to compete with. Ethiopia has 77 million, 44 million in South Africa, which is actually not that bad. 81 million in Egypt, 33 in Morocco, not that bad. But then here's the big player, 137 million in Nigeria. If we really want to be the top dog in Africa, especially in Central Africa, we have to better utilize the resources while staying in balance with our current population. As a result, I think my strategy, and I say strategy in the loosest sense of the word, is just to let the population gradually go up, which means I'm not going to cut down on social services. See, I'm already getting notifications regarding a labor shortage. We are approaching a condition of full employment. As demand for workers increase, so will our labor costs and our overall efficiency will decline. I have a couple of remedies. I know that foreign policy wise, I said I was going to expand to the east militarily while also protecting against Angola. Um, the stance against Angola being due to, I guess, some kind of historical rivalry. I am going to see if I could begin negotiations with Zambia, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. If the reason being is that let's take a look at like Tanzania, for instance. I can ask for the free flow of labor, which will allow workers to cross borders, and also generally some line of sights and other more military focused treaties. But I guess the primary focus is on the free flow of labor. I'd like to make a Southeast African, I guess, economic zone. So stretching from here in Kinshasa all the way down to Mozambique. The reason being is I don't see a lot of potential for having conflict in this area. For me, it is protecting against Angola and then expanding around the Great Lakes region, specifically around Lake Victoria. All like, let me slow down. I want to expand militarily toward the Great Lakes area, defend in Angola, and I don't want to waste resources down here. Remember, the goal of our game is to detonate a nuclear device in Brussels. So the more conflict we are with our neighbors, or the more conflicts we have with our neighbors, makes us, how shall I say, targets of the UN and other great powers in the region, making us much more likely to be declared war on by people who we most certainly cannot defend against. Um, my current my current strategy around that, we got research breakthrough, which was improved waste management. It's good. I reorganized my research, by the way. I don't know if I did that in the first video, but I did do it in my second video. Obviously, I did not want to focus on video game research as a Central African state. So you can see over here, I put emphasis on education, health, and minor economic research. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. Foreign policy definitively want to go to war in the Great Lakes area, probably instigate a fight against Angola, develop an economic zone in the southeastern part of Africa, all the while preparing a relatively advanced fleet to carry a device into Brussels, or at least as close to Brussels as I can get. My guess is that I can get a ship over here in this area and send a plane to detonate a bomb over the capital. The other route I was thinking is to develop closer relations with Germany, get free transit in the area, and drive a truck with said atomic bomb into the capital. I may improve relations with Belgium uh, as a way to cozy up and make it easier to transport said device there. So regardless, let's see where we are in terms of population growth. Sorry if I'm breathing into the mic a little bit. Let me try and raise it up so it's not as bad. So our births, we have about 800,000 combined with a very high immigration rate of 500,000, which means we have about 1 million people coming into the country. Hopefully, you know what? Let's start cozying up to the Tanzanians. Uh, Over here, offer C seems acceptable. They're probably gonna ask for some type of cash incentive, which I'm fine with. We have a pretty healthy treasury of 11 billion. Let's see. They're asking for 74 million. I'm more than happy to accept that. So there we go. We have air transit, free flow of labor, and criminal extradition treaty with Tanzania. Let's see what I can get out of the Zambians. Oh, they're willing to negotiate. 76. Okay, so it seems like these guys have pretty moderate, I guess, entry tickets for an economic zone. 44 million. Zimbabwe gave me a nice discount. Ooh, Botswana does not like me. Angola does not like me. Mozambique likes me. Let's see. How about Malawi? Malawi also seems to be, oh, not free trade. Malawi seems to be willing to negotiate with me. Excellent. Okay, so we actually got all the major economic points that we wanted. So Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mozambique, and Tanzania are part of a free labor force area in southeastern Africa. Let's see what that does with the population. I think the immigration was around 550,000. Looks like we've upped it to 67,000. Not that bad, not that bad. Let's see if we could maybe think about talking to our northern neighbors. Congo is not very happy with us. Central Africa is willing to talk, but at 4 million, I'm not sure that's something I really want to get involved with. In real life, Central Africa is mired in Christian on Muslim violence, which is also, if you follow the news, is a is an ongoing issue as well as in the Congo. Interesting fact, actually, in local news, the city of Goma over here, it's not represented on the map, but there is a volcano in this area. The reason being, if you know your geography, this part of Africa is along a fault line, which is called the Rift Valley. And so there are a series of volcanoes along the edges of these lakes. So Goma, just further to the south here, Goma is sitting right under a volcano. I'm not sure exactly where that volcano is relative to the city, but I think last week the volcano started to erupt and the lava that you can see in the footage is literally slowly crawling up to the streets. Thankfully, they were able to evacuate most of the denizens out of there. I think the last time they had eruption, over 200 plus people died. My guess is not that the slow-moving lava killed them, but probably the massive explosion of toxic gases probably caught them unawares. But, you know, that's just in local news. Let's see. Oh, so I wanted to talk about the supply stuff. I decided to build some military supply bases here in Kinshasa. Don't know if you could see it. It's that supply depot. Let's see if I could pop it up on the map here. And as a result, by increasing the supply zone we have in an area, that means we actually get a greater amount of resources extracted. Let's actually take a look at our resource extraction currently. Our agriculture is, our agriculture is doing well. It's not operating at full capacity. I guess it alternates. Rubber, we're at max capacity. It's actually quite a healthy profit margin. Timber, we're operating at full capacity, well above actual use. Oil, if you were careful and watched the very first video that I uploaded, our oil stock has massively gone down, which probably explained for which was the probable explanation for our large financial surplus quite early into the game. Our coal, somewhat self-sufficient, but you can see the production to actual use is amazing, which means that by the time we start massively a massive electric electrification campaign, sorry, here in Central Africa due to our growing industry, we should be more than able to dip into our coal production. Mining, excellent, high production to actual use. Uranium, I have not begun any production. One of the reasons being that I would like to obviously reserve uranium for um, uh, nuclear power and also development toward an atom bomb. As a matter of fact, before we do anything, I'm going to institute production controls. I'm going to sell 0% of surplus production, no bulk sales. I I could technically put in some orders, but I don't want to. I'd rather rely on our own domestic production to build up some stock. Electricity, we're playing a very careful game here. Let me build another coal plant, actually. Let's see, I'll put it in Lakasi, here in the south. That should put us, it should give us a little bit of a wider gap to work with. Consumer goods, we're doing quite well with. I think that's like a little under our actual consumption of consumer goods is a little over half of what we actually produce. Industry, on the other hand, different story. I'm willing to invest in industry if not for the fact that we have such a low unemployment, and I don't really want to mess anymore with that. And then military goods is not really a concern, especially with such a devastating production cost versus sell like market value, which is unusual for a military good. You would think that selling guns is probably one of the most profitable industries in our little blue world, but I guess not according to the game. So now that we have that figured out, let's look at our domestic situation. All right, I guess the immigration number actually might just be fluctuating on its own and may not really be influenced by our free trade agreements. Not free trade agreements, our free flow of labor agreements. Regardless, we did go up to 67 million. And let's look at our GDP. Oh wow. So if you remember to the start of the game, our GDP I think was around 1,000. We have climbed up to 2,300, which puts us here above Uzbekistan, not really some great neighbors, Ghana, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. And these are countries which have, they have significantly more population than us. Who's someone around our population size that we're beating? Uh-oh. As I scroll down. Okay, Ethiopia. All right, so we are doing better than our closest competitor, which is Ethiopia. Um, Unfortunately, that's it. Ooh, we're second to last, basically, for our population size relative to the economy. Okay, so the unemployment's slowly increasing. Inflation is around 18%. I'm not sure exactly where inflation was at the start of the game, and I'm not sure how that influences the gameplay overall. I also I did not look at the tourism percentage. I hope it's doing well. I know if you look at obviously our economy, we're doing well. We have 100% literacy, which is amazing. Uh, and we have a pretty healthy influx of people coming into the country. Diplomatically, the world market is delighted with us, and we actually have quite a bit of a subsidy toward us when it comes to buying and selling goods. The cheap way to deal with this GDP issue is to lower taxes. We have probably one of the highest tax rates in the world, but with such a weak economy, we kind of have to milk as many resources as we can from our people so as to centralize and develop further. One of the things that this game kind of lacks is any form of private market enterprise. So I can't, I can't just wait for some dude to open a factory here in the Congo. I kind of have to do everything myself here. It's one of the, I guess it's one of the core things that's missing out of this simulation game. Though I also feel that if they tried to replicate a private market, private enterprise, it probably massively lag the game, especially the way they work with 3D units and models. The only other game I could quickly think of at the top of my mind who does replicate private market quite well is Victoria 2, which I know that one of my subscribers, Zane Ridley, shout out to you. I could see on your profile picture you actually have Victoria 2 as your profile picture. If you'd like, I'd be more than happy to do a Victoria 2 game. I've always enjoyed Victoria 2, but I will admit I do not consider myself an expert, nowhere near an expert to play a game. I I do fairly well when given the chance. I think I don't know though if I'd be able to successfully industrialize one of the second or third rate countries. I don't know. I've had fun games as Brazil or Ethiopia. I especially like playing in the Pakistani area and uniting these countries over here, or Iran. I always like a good Iran game always includes expanding into Afghanistan and the Pakistani area and building factories around wool and minor fruits and vegetables. But regardless, let's focus on our Congolese game. Let's see where our research is at. In terms of expenses, our research doesn't really take much out of our budget. And at first, I was tempted to play around with the research department's budget as a way to do some cost cutting and allow us to have a little bit better of a budget surplus. But honestly, it's not something I'm willing to cut. And especially with us being so far behind in tech, it doesn't seem like a good idea. In regard to social services, let me see if there's anything I can do. Current is 137. So the recommended is 137 million. We're at 140. 122. Exactly at the recommended. We're actually a little bit below. I'm gonna move that up a little bit. We're massively below family subsidies, which may actually, if we increase that, that should help with population growth. So I'm gonna put it up to 34. I know, right? I'm talking about, being a little bit more fiscally conservative and trying to increase our budget surplus while I increase social programs. Here's the thing, though, it's like if I don't increase spending for these social programs, which contributes to a healthier and larger population, I can't reap the benefits of a bigger tax base and a tax base that has a lot more money. Thus, in the future, I'm going to have budget issues if I don't invest now. But in the immediate problem, I do have a budget problem. Now, I know it's a dirty word, but I am thinking if push comes to shove, we could possibly dip into the banking sector and pull out some loans. I don't even know if you remember, but our credit rating went down actually because we paid off our loans so quickly. But with the eventual recovery, we're looking at pulling out about $1 billion in bonds, issuing bonds to the populace. They seem to be, they seem to have quite a high confidence with us. For those who are not familiar with bonds, just a quick crash course, and correct me if I'm wrong. Bonds are basically, I guess, a stock that the government sells in which you can buy, and after a period of years, you can turn in for a profit based off an interest rate. Those interest rates and prices per bonds are determined by how the market views your particular government. In this case, we're able to sell bonds, worth about $1 billion per day. Um, so technically speaking, we are financially able to keep ourselves afloat in the worst case scenario. But seeing our budget after all those minor trade deals, we seem to be relatively stable. I think generally speaking, we're on a downward trend, but enough of a large, but there seems to be, it's such a minor downturn in our economic fortune that I don't think we'll have to face any real fiscal issue for, in terms of in-game, probably a soft estimate, 5 years, maybe even 10 years, if as long as we're not building anything new. Let's see, labor shortages usually 2.4%. More tweets from the Americans. Let's see. For having increased world market subsidy rates, people really like us. I think those trade deals, or those negotiations with the countries in Southeast Africa, they really like. Let's see. Let me see if I could change the focus of my cabinet and maybe they can help me. Conservation. So these are the different cabinet priorities. Currently, I have export and subsidize agriculture. The reason I have subsidies toward agriculture is that it improves both well, you could actually see the benefits. It improves the domestic approval and general health of the population. Hopefully, that translates into faster population growth. Let's see. Benefit treasuries. Concentrate on profitable commodities, increase prices, and reduce inventories. See, I'm worried about any. I know I set myself to export opportunities. The idea of reducing our stocks, though, There's something about that that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. The reason being that if we go to war, not if, when we go to war, if we have a minimal stockpile, and let's say we don't come out as looking like the good guys in the war, as in the market hates us, it is much more difficult for us to buy and sell goods. Um, and so we kind of have to become extremely self-sufficient at that point. So I'm not sure I feel about reducing domestic stocks, especially in light of, kind of military plans to take over these areas. I know we looked at the population in our first video, but let's see, 29, 8, 8, 16, quick maths, what is that, 47? So 47 million people? Wow, for these three. Mm. It's a shame though, Burundi likes us, and Rwanda's a bit neutral, and Uganda likes us. It's going to be very difficult to antagonize these countries into being a little bit more provocative with us. We would have to invest in a spy agency and start sabotaging these local facilities and doing other kind of hooligan activities. I don't know, I guess it's kind of fitting in the narrative of the Congo since the history of the Congo is somewhat influenced by these smaller East African states trying to exert influence over here. I think from their perspective, and in current day perspective, the Congo is a very broken state. And as a result, these smaller countries who typically have much more authoritarian government and centralized government domestically are able to exert minimal influence along the peripheries here. And in a way, I think it might actually direct competition that normally might take place between these three outward toward the Congo, rather than, say, Rwanda pushing up against Uganda or Burundi to the south. Hmm. It's like I'm not sure exactly what you would call it, but I guess a valve of pressure away from each other and toward this ungovernable center from their perspective. Uh, oh, I just took a look at the timer. Well, I know this might have been a little bit more rambly, and I certainly do apologize for the massive kind of gap between the two videos, but I will try my utmost to do better. It was my fault because I accidentally used the wrong audio input in the second video, but I hope you guys liked it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.